Is your team not performing well? Is morale low and turnover high? Are you falling further behind the competition? I'm here to help. I'm Shani Magoski, and this is the Leadershifter Show, where business strategy and culture finally meet. Explore shifts of all kinds required to build cultures of trust, engagement, and execution excellence. I promise I am not your typical boring leadership consultant, and I will help you and your team get your shift together.
All right, we are live. Welcome, Leadershifters, to this live episode of the Leadershifter Show with Shani. As you can see, I am joined by a delightful looking woman named Sophia Parra, and it's very apt that she's on the show right now because I'm drinking out of a coffee cup that says radiate positive energy. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Radiate positive energy. There it is. And this woman radiates super positive energy. So today, between my positive energy and her positive energy, it's going to be contagious.
I love that.
So why is Sophia on the show? Because she is a social media guru or guress. I don't know. And she has one of her biggest, most successful business endeavors is called What the Heck to Post. And I work with her. It's been a huge pleasure. And so I wanted to invite her on the show to share some best practices, tips, trips, recommendations for all of you on who listen or watch the show. So welcome, Sophia.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is such a nice way to end my day over in England over here.
That's right, folks. Sophia is in London. She, as you can tell, she's American, but her husband, Bradley, is British, and they moved over there, like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about that. I mean, it was official for me about a year ago because I was away getting my visa. But yeah, his contract started a year and a half ago. So yeah, he's been here for a year and a half.
Contract with Peloton. So for those of you who are Peloton enthusiasts, check out any of the classes by Bradley Rose. They will kick your ass in a really good way.
Kick your ass and make you laugh.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into it, Sophia. How did you come to pursue a social media advisory business?
Yeah, what a good question. I mean, it's so random when I think about it, really, because my entire life, I wanted to be an actor. I was all about it. I went to acting school. I dropped out of university to go to acting school. I studied it in high school. I did the International Baccalaureate program in high school, and I was a higher level theater student. Like, I was all about acting. And then there was just this one point in my life. I actually remember I told someone the story recently, so I was reminded of it. So it's kind of interesting that you're asking me this question. But I remember I was filming an episode for Blind Spots. And I don't know if you remember that show. I don't even know if they're still filming it, but I think it was like an ABC show, like 7 years ago, maybe. And I was playing a Russian assassin. And I know. There's I literally get shot in the head in this episode.
Seriously, how did you shift from your friendly, smiley face to assassin face?
Oh my God. I remember doing that audition and being like, there's no way I booked that. Like, I'm just so wrong for this part, right? And I got a call on my way home being like, they want you, you're it. And I was like, what? Did they see my audition? So I don't know, but I was a Russian assassin. I actually had to speak Russian on the show. It was a blast. I think how I was killed off of the show is they shot me in the head. So I'm walking home after this episode, and I had this voice in the middle of it, before I was filming, and it was such a peaceful voice. And I'm not my husband does not believe this actually happened, but I swear to you, it was such a feeling of peace. And I was like, Sophia, this is your last acting gig. Like, enjoy it. There's something else for you. This is not it. This will no longer align with what you want to do in life, and enjoy every minute of it. And I actually was like, that's weird. And I'm sure this isn't really my last acting gig, but I took that to heart. And I remember going through that moment and being like, oh my God, every time they yelled cut, I just like looked around. I enjoyed the lights. I enjoyed getting notes from the director, getting my bullet wound touched up, like all the things that you do as you're an actor, right? And on my way home, literally still with my bullet wound in my head, I sit on a stoop on my way home in New York City, and I changed my Instagram bio from actress in New York City to founder of Coach Social, because Coach Social at that time was like a side hustle. Like, I was kind of doing it, but I was dipping my toe in it. I wasn't going all in. And I changed my bio, and I literally never looked back since. I just knew that was over. I was still represented by an agency for like another 6 months, but I stopped booking. Like, it just wasn't happening for me anymore. And I felt cool about it. I was like, I don't know, this feels over. So yeah, so that's how I found myself into social media. It was almost like this weird, it just felt like it was time. I was done having a day job, and I was also done at being an actor, and I wanted to build out social media. That was the big thing at the time.
Okay, so Coach Social,
Mm-hmm.
and What the Heck to Post. Who's the right client for that? Like, what are they looking for? What are their pain points?
Yes. Yeah. So Coach Social and What the Heck to Post are technically two separate things. Coach Social is like is my parent company. Mm-hmm. It's where I started. I started doing more done for you stuff, where I was creating content for other people. In the very beginning iterations of Coach Social, I was doing everything. Like, I was engaging, I was doing content, I was doing emails, I was doing blogs, I was doing everything. And what I learned in that process was, when I completely take over content and engagement and all the stuff for people, I actually take the business owner out of the equation, and it actually does not serve them, right? So I adjusted that, and I moved strictly into just content creation, helping people to create content, because a lot of people have a lot to say, but they're not really sure how to put it into a digestible piece of content that people can absorb. So I moved into helping people create content. And then I started realizing that a lot of people still need help with the other stuff, right? They need help with the engagement and the understanding how to engage and how to create opportunities to sell and email marketing and all this other stuff that I was no longer doing. So I created What the Heck to Post to help people who might not be able to afford my one-on-one services. So they wanted to find templates and tips and tricks to do it themselves. But also, we have like over 20 trainings in there that can train you how to scale, that can all kinds of things, put systems in place for automation, engagement strategies, like you name it, you've got it. In that membership. And so I think that, for What the Heck to Post, I do tend to focus on coaches. That is the audience that I feel I've studied the most, because I've come up working with coaches specifically. Mm-hmm. So if you are a coach, any kind of coach, except for maybe like a soccer coach, talking like leadership or business or something like that, there is absolutely something to support you inside of What the Heck to Post, including a pitch database if you're looking for other podcasts to be on, right? You can use it to find people who have submitted their contact information and are open to get pitches from you. If you're looking for content ideas, we share 2 weeks of prompts every other week. If you want templates because you don't know how to do your own, we've got 2 weeks of templates every other week. If you want trainings, marketing trainings, we've got lots of trainings in there. And if you want coaching from me, I do a group coaching call once a month inside of that membership. So it's really for any coach who experiences any kind of headache in online marketing. There is an answer within that membership for you.
Sure. It sounds like the process and the template don't necessarily have to only serve coaches. So if somebody, an entrepreneur or a small business owner wanted to join the group or have their marketing person join the group, would that be a good use of their time?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. And I think, for specificity, I always try to speak to the person that I feel the most aligned with, because again, that's where my experience is. But it's fascinating when you get really familiar with showing up on social and talking to people's pain points and things like that. There are people that aren't necessarily coaches that are like, I'm not a coach, but this fully aligns with me. Will this still help me? And the answer is 100%. You might have to tweak some language because okay, I'm not a coach, so I'm going to tweak this, right? So yeah, there might be some tweaking here and there, but absolutely, like if you're struggling with content ideas, marketing strategies are for all, right?
Yes.
You can absolutely find answers in there if you're not a coach.
That's great. And as we know, some coaches are marketing more to individuals in a B2C way, and some coaches like me are more marketing to companies in a B2B way.
Yes.
What would be the difference in the approach?
Yes. So this is something for me, it actually, just to simplify it for people, it always just comes down to pain points, right? Whether you're speaking to a decision maker in a business or you're speaking to a client, right, or customer, right, there are pain points that the creator of your business, are aware of, or you wouldn't have created the solution and the services that you've created, right?
Okay.
So content and anything social media is really about identifying the needs people have, or the business that you're selling to has, creating content that speaks to those needs, and also addressing objections people have. So always wondering, okay, why do people want this? And what are the reasons they will come up with in their head why I'm not the right person, or this isn't the right offer for me? And that's what we're creating content around. So honestly, there isn't that much of a difference. The only difference is about where you might show up, like in front of people, right? So for example, when I think about marketing, right, I think about it in 4 phases. The first phase is I call it fix your feed, right? This is like just laying out a foundation, right? Making sure that like you've got some branding, it's clear you're a business. And if people were to stumble upon you, they're like, all right, I need this person. Doesn't mean I'm going to hire them today, but I'm going to follow them. I want them in my world in some capacity. That's when you fix your feed. The second phase is content to attract, right? This is when you're creating content that aligns with pain points, aligns with objections, and you just make it clear that when people come to your content, they feel like, oh, I found a resource, right? Oh my gosh, I found some answers to my questions. And now you're someone that they feel like they need in their world, right? Phase 3, I say engage to convert. This is where you learn engagement strategies. This is where you maybe you're emailing to an email list and you're trying to understand what kind of content gets replies. This is where you think about how can I generate conversation? And then the last phase is amplify to grow, right? And this is the part that I'm talking about, which might be different between business to business and to customer. And that's really about who you are getting in front of, right? This is where you have to think, all right, where is my ideal audience hanging out? And how can I get in front of that person? That might look like podcasts. That might look like Facebook groups. That might look like newsletter collaborations. That might look like guest speaking opportunities of all kinds. So that is might be where it changes a little bit, because customers are hanging out in different places than business, like the decision makers within businesses are. So that's really up to you to understand where might they be hanging out and how can I get in front of them in a creative way so I can bring traffic back to the content that I create.
Got it. Okay. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the hot platform of TikTok, right? Because traditionally it's been Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. It feels like TikTok is taking over the world. Zuckerberg, on his earnings call for Meta this week, definitely seems worried because Facebook hasn't figured out how to compete with TikTok.
Yeah.
So what should people be doing on TikTok?
Yeah. So, I think what I love about TikTok is well, actually, let me rewind. I think TikTok's tapped into something, and Instagram's really trying to figure out their own version of that through Instagram Reels. And in some capacity, they have figured some of that out. But TikTok has really tapped into this short form video content. It's really leveraged our attention spans, right? Like we cannot sit there through a 3-minute or a 15-minute, God forbid, video of you sharing some great value. No matter how great it is, we can't last that long, right? And so TikTok has really created a platform where it is not just short form content, but it's got stickers popping out of places, and it has you, just coming, like sharing a different side of you. And I think for me, like all of this content, the reason why this content becomes successful is the relatability part of it, right? Like, for example, I have made a decision, and I'm going to adjust this decision, I think, in a couple of months, but I made a decision. I'm not going to try to be amazing, or I guess I should say, I'm not going to try to be mediocre at a bunch of different platforms. I'm going to choose where my people are, and I'm going to be awesome on those platforms, right? So the first one, it's not even which one is the best one or where should I be hanging out. It's where is your audience hanging out? And how can you be awesome there? Not mediocre because you're on all of them, but how can you be awesome, but speak to their needs today, right now, make your services as urgent as possible because you are so freaking relevant on that platform, right? So for me, I felt like my audience was not on TikTok yet. When I was looking into that, they were still younger. Yes, the ages were, I was seeing people more in my ideal age group coming onto TikTok, but at that point, it still wasn't enough for me to change my strategy and move off of Instagram. However, I was fully aware that there is a type of content that TikTok has tapped into that is doing very well, and Instagram is trying to replicate that experience. So for me, it's more about the type of content, right? I'm going to stay where I am because I know this is where my audience is right now. I'm not going to take my eye off of TikTok, but I also know where my attention goes, like success follows, right? So I really have to be very clear about how I'm showing up. And what I am going to adjust is like the content that I'm creating on that platform. So I moved full into what is working on TikTok and how can I bring that energy here? And that was short form content, relatable content, right? Not just here's a tip for this, but oh my gosh, my audience is feeling overwhelmed with social media content. I've felt that before. So I'm going to create a short video, like using a trending audio, making fun of all of our to-do lists and all this content stuff and how we spread ourselves so thin. I'm going to like make fun of myself, how I've experienced that too. And then maybe I'll do a call to action saying, if this is like, hey, I get it. I've been there. This is how I figured it out. Go to the link in my bio to download my whatever it is, or here's a tip for you. But I'm coming in at it from what is relatable. What can they say? Oh my gosh, I feel this, versus how can I create an all new thing, learn an all new thing, and now I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, so for those who aren't as familiar with TikTok, does the content have to be live?
No. Yeah. So content does not have to be live on any of these platforms. Most of them are actually pre-produced. Yes, you can go live, and live has they all offer something different, right? The live part is more if you want something kind of interactive, if you want people popping on, asking you questions in the moment, and you just are like there in that moment, and that offers great community potential, right? But TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of these other forms of content, a lot of them are pre-produced weeks in advance, and they're just scheduled so that you don't overwhelm yourself, right? So yeah, absolutely not.
Hypothetically, you could record something and post it to any of them, and it's not really creating extra work, so you can leverage across the platforms.
Yes, you can post content in. Sorry, my husband's.
I am never upset by fur baby interruptions. Don't worry. My cat TJ is sitting right behind me. I always say he's my EA.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's barking because it's dinner time. So he's just making sure the entire house knows.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
But to answer your question, yes, you can absolutely repurpose content as well as post it in numerous places. And you 1000% should, especially if you are a business owner without a team to just do this all for you, right?
Sure.
The thing that you cannot automate, and one of the reasons why it becomes difficult to be in multiple places at one time, is you can't automate the engagement side of it, right?
Sure.
If you're truly going to leverage a social media platform, this is where people often forget. Social media, none of them are content apps. They're social apps, right? So yes, content is part of the big picture. Content is how we know if people want to be social with you, right? But if we operate on any social media platform like it's a content app, we're missing a huge part of the pie, right? And what people tend to do is
you got to make it a conversation, not a
exactly
app. You want to talk with someone, not at someone. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? This goes for a lot of things, even our email marketing, right? Like the amount of time I spend on my email, I ask questions so that every Friday at 2 p.m., I think it is, I go down and I reply to everyone who replied to my email I send emails on Tuesdays and Fridays, right? So, and I spend probably an hour replying to everyone, because for me, the whole benefit of any of these social media content, and again, email is also social media, right?
Yeah.
The benefit of all of that is creating a community. That's what these apps were created for. And if we are spending all our time creating content and no time starting conversations or showing up with the intention of, hey, I see you liked this. I'm so excited. Is this something you struggle with? I've got a free resource for you. I've got a podcast episode. Let me know if you want it, right? Now we are creating opportunities for people to really see us not just as a resource, but someone we could be in a relationship with. And we buy from people that we trust. If we're not actively building that trust, we are not making sales.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, switching gears a little bit. I'm guessing one of the things you help people with, in addition to the content of the content and the presentation of the content, is staying up to date on what all the algorithms are and what the latest tricks are to make sure your content is being found, all that sort of stuff. So how do you stay up to date? Because that shit seems to change more frequently the longer we go on in life.
Yeah, it does. And I actually have, I have a different way of thinking about this. So first of all, I love tricks, hacks, trends. I love all that stuff. And I have fun with it. So I'm not going to say I ignore them. I definitely don't ignore them. However, there is one thing that I suggest everyone does, and that is to truly understand how the algorithm works so that whatever changes happen, you can always leverage it. Because here's the thing, contrary to popular belief, the algorithm always stays the same, right? How we create content, it can make a couple of shifts, but the algorithm thrives on one thing. And that's the job of the algorithm is to keep you on the app as long as possible, right? So if you are creating content that keeps people on the app, you will be rewarded. That does not mean people need to like your stuff or drop comments on your stuff. It just means they have to engage with it. So that means maybe you posted a carousel, right? And people did not like or comment, but they swiped through the entire carousel. Guess what? You have just told the algorithm this person is interested in your content, which means you will be seen by more people than if that person swiped.
So it ties to their advertising strategy, which is if this content contributor is keeping people on Instagram longer, we're going to reward them because eyeballs equals revenue dollars.
Exactly. So your whole job as a content creator, and yes, you watching this, even if you're like, no, I'm a coach for this, or I sell this, like you are a content creator. Welcome to 2022. We are all content creators, right? And your job as a content creator is to try to figure out how can I keep people on my content for as long as possible. Sometimes that looks like sometimes that's why videos are so effective, because it's more likely that they're going to, let me tell you like a little story, right? For example, this is one of the reasons why short content works. One of the ways that the algorithm kind of measures your success as a content creator is your retention rate, right? So if you post a 15-second video and someone watches a 15-second video because they have 15 seconds, that is a 100% retention rate. If you post a 3-minute video, but they watch 15 seconds of the 3-minute video, that's what? Not even 10% of a retention rate, right? So you're not going to get rewarded for that because clearly people are not interested. So it's 100% versus 10%, right? So think about how you can keep people engaged with your stuff. And again, that engagement can look like you have a long caption, right? So let's say the first line is something like, here are 3 reasons you should not do this. And you know how when you're on Instagram, in order to read the rest of the caption, you have to tap the word more, right?
Yep.
They tap the word more. That is engagement. They have just demonstrated an interest in your content and you will be rewarded for it. They don't have to like it. They don't have to comment on it. They don't have to do anything, which can be frustrating because we as content creators sometimes feel like, but no one's liking my stuff. This clearly isn't working, right? So what you really have to look at is reach numbers, right? How much reach are we getting? How many impressions are we getting? That all counts. Another thing that people find really surprising is screenshots, right? The algorithm can see if someone has screenshot their phone because they're trying to take something off of your feed, like to keep it on their camera roll as a reminder, whatever it is.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So sometimes like with Instagram Reels, I don't know if people have noticed this, but there's like, sometimes people say like they're doing their reel and they're like 3 reasons you should not do this. And they're like, get ready to screenshot. And then they do like a flash of a bunch of information. And everyone's like, I can't read that. How am I supposed to see that? It's because they want you to screenshot it to tell the algorithm that they care about your stuff. Right?
Oh my God. I am writing that down for my own purposes.
So all of that to say, how can we stay relevant? All these things. The bottom line is all of this stuff, whatever changes are happening on Instagram, if you are aware of this fundamental truth that the job of the algorithm is to keep people on the platform as possible, you do not need to get too distracted by new features, right? It doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to them, but now you can look at them with a filter. Does this serve me? Does this serve my audience? Is this worth my time learning? Is this so freaking aligned with how I want to show up online? Great, then I'm going to spend the time doing that. But if it's not, if you're like, this doesn't align with me, as long as you know the other things, and as long as you know how your ideal audience will absorb your content and how they're staying on the platform, you're good. You don't have to freak out about it, right? So it really gives us an opportunity to empower ourselves as leader shifters, right? To make the decision, is this right for me or my brand?
I love it. And part of the shift that you're creating with great content and engagement strategies is shifting people's perception of your business and your attitude or your offerings, shifting people from prospect to customer, all those things. So I can make a tide of shifting with anybody I interview.
I love that. And that makes so much sense, right? Because actually it's something that I talk about. You know what? This so reminds me of you now that I think about it. But something that I always talk about with clients is like, you know, and this will help with content ideas for anyone listening, is what are the perspective shifts that people need to make to be a perfect fit client for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, one of the perspective shifts is that, you know, what do I say? I say, like, I mean, I word this in a couple of different ways, but one of the recent things that I said was, you're not an influencer. You are a business owner. Likes and comments do not pay your mortgage, right? Actual relationships are what pay your mortgage, because relationships are what can actually convert, right? So if people are coming to me with, oh, I want more likes, I want more comments, right? I know they're not a perfect fit for me. But if they're like, look, I'm trying to build a community, I want to be sharing the right content so that when I show up to engage with my people, they see me as the resource that I am and I can build a relationship with them. That's when I know that they're a right client for me. So my job of my content is to shift perspectives, right? It's to understand where are they at today, where do I need them to be, and what beliefs or perspective shifts do they need to have to be a perfect fit client for me? And that's how I show up to create content around that.
Oh, great. Well, there's been so much wisdom that you've shared with us. So I'll ask you one last question. Are there any other tips, tricks, hacks, words of advice you want to share above and beyond the generous contributions you've already made?
I think one thing that I could say is I just want to remind people, just like there is no one size fits all with marketing, right? I think we are in a tendency to go onto social media to, maybe even like follow someone who shares a bunch of like tips or new Instagram feature or whatever it is. And this is where I think the overwhelm comes in, right? We trust this person, we like this person, we like their content. So every time they post something new, we're like, I got to do that. Oh my gosh, this is a new thing. I have to try that. And we really start to overwhelm ourselves. And this is where the social media burnout comes in, right? So I want to urge everyone, like, there is no one size fits all with marketing. Our job as business owners, and I've kind of touched on this already, but is to be open to trying things that resonate, to be open to refining as we go, and to be open to figuring out whatever it is for ourselves, right? And so that means looking at all of these new things that come on the scene, like a scientist, right? Like set a goal, try something on, try it again, figure it out, find your way. And do not get too distracted by all of the new things that come up unless it fully aligns with your values. It's getting you excited to go after it. But if you're feeling like resistance or overwhelm about it, again, just remember, your job is to keep your ideal audience on the platform as long as possible. And that doesn't mean 7 hours. That literally can mean 30 seconds, right?
Because that's better than the average engagement on anything.
Exactly, right?
The whole world has ADD now.
100%. So just like empower yourself. You know more than you think you do, right? You are your only guru that you need, to be honest. Like really are no marketing gurus, because everyone, even the experts, are figuring it out because stuff changes so often. So you have to like give yourself the guru title. You are the best guru in this business. You know more than you think you do, and empower yourself to make even the marketing decisions. Sure, you don't know everything. Neither does the expert, right? So come at this with what you do know, the message you're trying to come across. You know your ideal audience better than anyone. And that is what happens.
Absolutely. And I love the idea of experimenting, learning, iterating. I preach that to my clients on everything, not just about their marketing. It's a pervasive theme in my client advisory work right now, is helping leaders get more comfortable taking risks and empowering their people to take risks and to experiment, and that you don't have to nail it the first time or even the 10th time, right? It's all about the only failure is the failure to learn, and of course the failure to try in the first place.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And you know what? Marketing and this social media land that we're all living in, like, this is here to stay. It's not a fad. It's not going away. There's plenty of time to make mistakes and learn from them. And I think the most important part is to just get your hands dirty. It doesn't matter if it fails. Like rejection because you didn't get likes or comments, it's not really rejection, because that's not how this works.
Totally. So, and that stuff's going to be so far down in the feed that no one sees it anyway. Like it's like, exactly. For me today, it's not that common for people to like scroll down to posts you made a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a couple weeks, that'll be old news.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. So leader shifters, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. And I already used this word. I'll use it again. What generous advice Sophia has shared with us today. And so I'm just going to recap a few of the big highlights from my perspective. I love the way you frame the 4 steps of marketing. It's not just product, price, place, promotion, the 4 Ps. It's like so old school. It's fix your feed, which is about branding and who you are and what you offer. Content to attract. So how are you creating content that addresses the pain points of your ideal audience? Engaging to convert. So what are you posting? How are you engaging? And then amplifying to grow, which is about converting those people from interested to paying clients. And we talked about the slight difference there between B2C and B2B in terms of where you're going to find your audience, which is the most important piece, because you don't need to be all things to all people on all platforms. It's about picking your spots. Where does your audience hang out? In terms of the content being relatable, like, don't make it stay. Don't just forward other people's shit. Like, have a conversation with your audience, which is about creating community. And that's the true value in leveraging social media. And then the last thing is, I think this is really eye-opening for most people, which is that it's the success isn't dictated by, like the biggest, paying attention to the smallest details on the algorithm. It's about, are you keeping eyeballs on that platform? That's what you get rewarded for. Like, genius to be explaining that to people. So thank you for all those pearls of wisdom. If people want to reach you or are interested in what the heck to post, how can they find you?
Oh my gosh. First of all, it's such a good recap. I loved hearing what resonated for you. That's amazing. So what the heck to post is at www.whatthehectopost.com. Thankfully, I got that URL.
Oh, nice.
I'm very active on Instagram. I love talking to people. I get like true to form. I'm not just sharing tips. I'm in my DMs. I'm answering questions. I'm sharing resources. My handle is my name, Sophia Parra, Parra. And I'm about to launch my own podcast. Actually, it's not out yet, but hopefully in a couple weeks it will be. We'll see. It's called Marketing Unfiltered. And this is I'm really about giving some real talk over there and setting some myths and misinformation straight.
That's great. Marketing Unfiltered. I'll put that in the show notes for people to look out for that in the next few weeks. So, Leader Shifters, thank you for joining us. Sophia, thank you for being a guest and for radiating such positive energy.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Leader Shifters, until next time, thanks for joining us.